And we have... Excuse me while I clear the frog that apparently decided to take up residence in my throat. We have returned. Hey. That right there was Wily's Castle theme, or Dr. Wily's Castle, or whatever you want to call it, from Mega Man 2. That, of course, was a cover by Lame Genie, and they also have a fella named Justin Wang with them on that. He did the really bitchin' solo at the end of it there. But yeah, that was a new song they released there yesterday, I believe. Yes, yesterday. So, I don't know. It's really neat. It's the classic song that practically everybody does at one point or another who covers these songs, like video game music. Surprised they haven't done that yet, but I suppose it's such a prevalent thing. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. But yes, I have returned. I am very tired. I should probably be sleeping, but I'm not. I'm not. Because, I have been working, like, between 10 to 14-hour days all week, I think. I was also working today. Only in the morning, thankfully, but yes, still working today. Didn't realize I was working today until Thursday afternoon. So there's that. But, yeah. I was planning on streaming earlier today, but when I got home, after getting myself a decent meal at a bar downtown, I, came home and kind of melted into the couch for a few hours, and I think I fell asleep for a little bit, so I probably needed that. Hello, Rolls, welcome back to the stream. Hopefully you're having a lovely day. Have you gotten really tired and melted into a couch before? I'm sure you have. We've all been there before. But yeah, it's rough. Only like another week, I think, of this, and then I think things should level up a bit more. Afternoon couch naps are indeed the best nap. I mean, it's kind of got me fucked up now, because I'm more awake, but also still tired. But, you know what will solve that problem? Beer. Yeah, I'll go get some, well, I'm not going to get some beer right now, but I probably will later. Right now, tea. I feel like something hot is going to wake me up a bit better. Yes! But, yeah, so I have a number of things in mind. Joining me with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. There's nothing wrong with a little Dr. Pepper every now and then. I don't drink a whole hell of a lot of soda anymore myself, but weirdly Dr. Pepper is one that I've started developing a taste for again. I remember when I was younger, I fucking hated it. Like, I could not drink that. But now it's something along the lines of like that, or root beer, or something like that. That's usually what I'll gravitate, you heard me. I will gravitate towards that whenever I feel like having a soda. As the song from the 80s tells us, might as well go for a soda. Can't stand Mr. Pibb, but Dr. Pepper is your soda of choice. Well, you see, you can taste the PhD in it. That's what it is, right? Because, I mean, who wants a simple Mr. Pibb? You gotta have the good doctor on your side. I'm assuming he's credentialed. Like, you know, you can trace back the medical school he went to. Whatever it was. I don't know. I'm just rambling now about that. And speaking of ramble, we are going to be getting into some Yakuza. But, as I believe you, so, I don't know how to finish that sentence. I was going to say politely pointed out? I don't think that's correct. But when I posted it on YouTube there a while ago, the extended ramble I had about stuff like Akira Toriyama and WB and all that jazz that I did not intend to go on. I did not intend to go on when I was streaming that time. Yeah, maybe it's going to be a thing now that, whenever I have something on my mind, I'm just going to go on some sort of rambling tangent before I actually start streaming. We are going to get to some Yakuza soon, I swear. But there's a few things that I've been meaning to talk about. One of them is actually a couple of weeks out of date now, because it was a couple of weeks ago I went to see this. And, I do need to talk about it, though, of course, is that, we went and we saw Furiosa in theaters a couple of weeks ago. I think we went over, yes, we went over because, Jen, pre-ordered Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door, that remake, which maybe I'll stream that someday, I don't know, we're playing through it together. It's kind of like our game, sort of, is how we're doing that, so this is going to be an us thing. But, we went over to get that, and while we were there, we were eating supper in the food court, and we're like, you want to go see a movie? We haven't seen a movie in a while, and I knew Furiosa had come out, and I love the Mad Max movies. I can't think of a single one of them that I hated. And I was like, when's the next showing of Furiosa? And she's like, well, the regular showing is at 9:30 or something like that, she said. And it's like, I don't want to be hanging out at the mall that long. It's like, but the IMAX version of it is showing at 7. I look at my watch and I'm like, so it's like 6:35 now. If we finish this up quick enough, get over there and get tickets, let's go watch that. And we did. And I don't know, I did not regret it, because now I'm after seeing 3 of the... How many of those? This is the first one. Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, Fury Road. Okay, 5. Huh. Yeah, I'm after seeing 3 of those 5 movies in theaters, because I remember a while ago they actually did a double feature of Road Warrior and Fury Road back to back. Now, that was a hell of a thing to do. But no, yeah. Fury Road is a movie that I've watched 3 times in theaters. Okay, before I get into Furiosa, I should probably explain that. Back when Fury Road first came out in theaters, I remember my buddy, I was getting pretty amped up about it because of the trailers, as a lot of people did, because again, I love the other 3 movies. And a buddy of mine, Bill, he had already gone to see it, and he was telling me about it. It's like, oh man, it was so good. It's like, I'd love to go see it again. It's like, I haven't seen it yet. And it's like, and he was like, you and me, we need to go watch the movie. So he brought me to see the movie. It was his second time seeing it in theaters. So I was like, okay, so we watch it, and I fucking love it, and I'm all amped up about that. That was, I think, on a Friday or a Saturday or something like that. Monday, I go into work, and I'm talking to my friends who I've worked with for years and years, Kyla. I'm talking to her, and she had seen the movie the week previous. I was like, yeah, I went to see Fury Road, and she hadn't seen any of the Mad Max movies before, but she went and saw this, and she was like, fuck yeah, it was great. So we were talking about it, and we were talking about our favorite bits in it during our lunch break, and then all of a sudden she just stopped and looked at me, and she's like, you want to go see it again after we get off work? And it's like, yeah, let's... So that was the second time I went to see Fury Road in theaters, just a few days after the first. And then, like, 3 years down the line, they, because the theater will do this thing where they'll bring older movies back sometimes if they're having, like, a specific theme. So then they showed Road Warrior and Fury Road back to back, so me and Jen went to see it then. So anyway, that's my random story about watching Fury Road 3 times in theaters. But yeah, Furiosa, went to see that. I wasn't expecting it to be exactly like Fury Road, because none of these movies are 100% the same. It certainly acted fairly well as like a continuation of that story, or at least, you know, a prequel to the story, because it's entirely about how she, like, the Furiosa got to the point she did in Fury Road. But if you've watched all of the movies in the series, the best way I can think of to describe it is that it has a lot more in common with the very first movie than it does Fury Road itself. I mean, it still has, like, the really big, crazy action set pieces, but it's more of a origin story for one of the characters, much like the first Mad Max movie is basically just gives you everything you need to know about Max, and then he's just kind of an entity that exists in the rest of the movies, you know? But no, I really enjoyed it. I can see what, like, there were some complaints about the special effects in it. And I mean, this is a problem that's prevalent in Hollywood a lot these days anyway, just because so many visual effects artists are getting burned out. That's, I feel, like what the big problem is. But there's still obviously a pile of practical effects in this, just not as much as they did in Fury Road. So, like, it's still obviously touched up with CGI and stuff in certain parts. But you know what? I honestly don't care. I mean, you can tell that they still physically built a lot of the stuff in the movie. And, you know, I'm not going to begrudge them if they had to, like, tweak things a little bit to make it work, right? Most of it was pretty good. Anya Taylor-Joy did a damn good job as Furiosa. The funny thing about it is she's really only playing the character for roughly half of the movie, because you track her from a child till she gets to just before the beginning of Fury Road, you know? So, God, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of this other girl who plays her when she's younger, but anyway, she does a pretty good job, too, which is saying something, because there's hardly any dialogue in the movie, at least for her. However, who does have a lot of dialogue, and to me was the highlight of the movie, which was one of the things I was excited about seeing going into it, was Chris Hemsworth. You know, old Thor himself. Because Chris Hemsworth was playing the main villain of this movie, a guy called Dementus, who is the head of this horde of random, like, biker nomad kind of dudes. Oh yeah, Queen's Gambit. No. See, that's the thing. Is like she's. I haven't seen her in much, but I've liked her in most of the stuff I've seen her in. Like Queen's Gambit was great. I recall specifically that was a show Jen was watching that I didn't have any interest in at first, but then I got immediately roped into it after I watched like the tail end of the first episode. Because it was an interesting story. I really enjoyed it. But no, she did a damn good job. But no, back to what I was saying about Hemsworth, though, is like he plays Dementus, who is the main villain of it, and he devours the scenery in every scene that he's in. He's just constant. And that to me is what the strength of the Mad Max movies are, is because you need to have a fairly stoic protagonist, and the villain is the one who usually does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of really being bombastic, right? And that's to me is how it works. So you have to have this big outsized personality to act as these wackadoodle warlords in this apocalyptic wasteland, and he really killed it with that role. And the thing I love about the movies is that you can kind of track that every one of them is a little different. Like there's similarities between a lot of the main villains of these movies, but they're all different flavors of crazy. And very specifically, Hemsworth, because he's got this very specific kind of nasally voice that he uses that you wouldn't think would be intimidating, but he makes it so. And he said in an interview that something I found hilarious is how he developed the voice was he kind of did a mishmash of like a carnival barker, his own grandfather, whom he then assured the interviewer was a lovely man, and a seagull. And when I read that interview, I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute. So I can think, because I mean, I live, and I've always lived around where there's seagulls all over the goddamn place. I've grown up around these birds. There's a lot of points where he hits these really high pitches when he's really getting into it and like yelling and shit, where he kind of cuts himself off at a squawk. It's like, no, that's it. That's a seagull. I can see, you know, how he did that. Oh, Queen's Gambit was one of those COVID era shows that you binged in literally a day. Yeah, the actual chess aspect of it was really cool too. Now, you probably got more familiarity with the game than I do. I just used to play it with my brother every now and then. But like it was really, it was shot and presented really well in such a manner that the chess games themselves seemed really interesting. Now that you're mentioning Queen's Gambit, I'm going off of my Furiosa tangent to talk about Queen's Gambit, but here we are. But no, I would highly suggest seeing Furiosa. If you're a fan of the Mad Max movies at all, it really does kind of help bridge a gap. Now, the thing about these... Oh yeah, no problem. My train of thought hijacks itself sometimes, so just don't worry about hijacking it. Okay, well, there you go. Now, I think it is one of the longer movies in the series, weirdly enough. But, because I think it's roughly 2.5 hours long. I don't think Fury Road was that long, but I could be mistaken. But, again, go into it realizing that it's going to be a bit slower paced than Fury Road was, because it is essentially an origin story. But, of course, the other funny thing I find about this, and because I always look at these different aspects of the lay of the land of, like, the entertainment industry as a whole sometimes, and the funny thing about it is that while it wasn't, I think it, at the time I read about it, that because maybe the reviews have changed because it was only out for a week at this point. But it was the second lowest reviewed Mad Max movie, but that still put it at like a general meta score of like 80% or something, because none of the movies have reviewed overly poorly. But it mostly got a lot of praise, and the opening weekend of its, it had the highest box office gross of any movie released that weekend, but it was still considered a flop, I think, because everything was. Nothing made the absurd amount of money that everyone was expecting. Well, not even absurd, I suppose, in the terms of modern cinema. Because I thought, and again, don't quote me on this, because this is an article I read 2 weeks ago, but I think they were projecting that it was supposed to make close on, it's like, this should make close on to 48-50 million bucks in its opening weekend. I think it ended up making more like 32 or something like that. And the thing about that is, and this is something I've noticed just tracking other stuff as well, is that's not really even a fault of the movie. It's just people just don't really go to theaters anymore. And I can understand why. I only ever go to see a movie myself if it's something I absolutely think that I would enjoy and would benefit seeing it on the big screen. Because even if it's something I think I would like, if it's not what I would call quote-unquote a theater movie, like a spectacle, I'm like, yeah, I can wait. I can wait till it comes out on video, or streaming is the big thing. I mean, hell, 9 times out of 10, they'll release a movie sometimes now, and it'll be streaming on some service, or you can rent it on some service no more than a couple of weeks after it comes out. It's crazy. But that's just the entertainment industry in a nutshell these days, isn't it? It's like, you can make scads of money, and it'd be highly reviewed, and still tank somehow, Which causes me to segue into another aspect of this, which is the video game industry, because we all know about the video games. We cherish them, we love them, we adore them. But I may have already talked about this on stream a while ago, I'm not sure, but so many studios have closed recently, and if they haven't closed, then they've gotten a shitload of layoffs. And there's no metric really that you can scale it by about why it's happening, because you would think that, okay, you have a studio that has several flops, their parent company will probably dissolve it and split them up and stuff like that. That kind of makes sense as far as these things go. But then you have things like Arcane Studios, a game studio that's been around since, I think they were around since 2006 or 8 is back when they formed. I mean, they did stuff like Dishonored, which is a game I never finished but really enjoyed, and God, I'm blanking now. They did a bunch of stuff, but I think they were also the ones who did what's that Left 4 Dead style vampire game? It's called like Bloodfall or something, that came out and did not do overly well recently. So they have one thing that's considered a flop. They got shuttered. And so there's that. So it's like you have this highly successful and respected studio that has one misstep and then they get shut down. And then you also get, on the same token, under the same umbrella, because these are both studios that are, I think they're divisions of Bethesda, and then of course Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft. Microsoft are the ones who shut these studios down. You got, is it Tango Softworks, I think they were called, or was it Tango Gameworks, something like that. Anyway, they did Hi-Fi Rush, this mid-budget game that came out last year, I think it was, that caught everybody way off guard and just sold like hotcakes. So this is the one main thing they're known for. Hugely successful. Most everybody loved it. I still haven't played it myself, but I'd like to get to it someday. That studio was also shut down. Why? Some executive from Microsoft was interviewed about it a while ago, and she honestly could not give the interviewer a straight answer as to why the studio got shut down. You just got a bunch of mealy-mouthed corporate lingo, and that was that. Like, there was no definitive reason why Tango was closed, I mean, I'm just some dumbass. I don't know how any of this works, but it just seems really strange to me that you can be very successful at what you do and still have your entire company shut down. I don't know. It's a weird world we live in. Very odd indeed. As a matter of fact, for that matter, I think this weirdly does actually tie into talking about Mad Max. Just give me a minute. I have to go to the shelf back there. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, and this ties into WB, because WB and their fuckery, because Mad Max is owned by WB, but then there's this, the Mad Max video game that was released when... Can I... Okay, there we go. There he is. Look at him. Look at his scowl. Look at how scowly he is. Anyway, the Mad Max video game that was released around the time Fury Road came out. It gets a bit long in the tooth, and kind of trying to 100% complete this is a pain in the ass. That's the reason why I never actually finished it. But the game itself is actually really cool. I enjoyed it. I might actually get back to this, maybe even stream it someday, and try to finish it and not worry about all the extra crap. Because I feel like if you focus more on the main story and some side stuff, you know, you might have a more enjoyable experience. Anyway, point is, I'm pretty sure Avalanche Studios, the studio that developed this, also got shut down recently. So it's just so many different studios are just gone. They don't exist anymore. It's a hell of a thing. Oh, and tying back to Furiosa, they actually do reference this game a couple of times in that movie, which I thought was neat. But I don't know. Yeah. I like how I've segued into talking about a movie I really enjoyed to talking about depressing shit. But hey, that's just it. Because, you know, hell, there was another, you know what, I'm not going to ramble for much longer. There's another big thing I want to talk about, but I think I want to gather my thoughts for that, and I'll save that for tomorrow. One last thing I will say, though, maybe we'll end on a high note here, before I actually dive into the game I said I was going to be playing, is, well, it actually ties into the game I said I was going to be playing, because I think I've mentioned several times that the Fallout TV show. Finished it a while ago, loved it, was really well done. Hell, it's part of the reason why I started doing Fallout for Retro Sunday, which I will get back to tomorrow, I swear. But, as fucky as the video game industry itself seems to have gotten these days, we're living in what I would assume to be a golden age of video game adaptations. I mean, not all of it seems like it's going to be great. They released another trailer for Borderlands yesterday, and while I'm not going to criticize it as harshly as I've seen a lot of people do, it still doesn't look great. There's a lot of odd choices they appear to have made, but I won't pass judgment on it until it comes out. I just am not going to go out of my way to see it, because Borderlands is a series I like, but I don't love it enough to really, really be jazzed for the movie. It's not like a Fallout to me. And, there is no B, because I completely lost track of what I was saying. Anyway, point is, there have been a lot of really decent video game adaptations lately. I mean, Fallout's a damn good example. The Mario movie, while not everybody loved it, I thought was pretty great. I mean, it was just entertaining fluff, more or less. And there were all kinds of, like, little nitpicky details in there that if you've played X number of Mario games, it's there, you know, it's good stuff. Sonic the Hedgehog apparently is really popular, those series of movies, to the point where there's like 2 movies and a mini-series now. I haven't watched any of them, but I've heard good things. Point is, like, we're in pretty much a golden era of video game adaptations now. And how this ties into Yakuza is that I saw that Prime is really going to start going full bore into this kind of thing, because they are doing a Yakuza, or Like a Dragon, I suppose, as the series is called now, to, you know, have it more in line with what it's called in Japan. They are doing a mini-series based on that now in October. Specifically, I think it's like a 6-episode mini-series that, as far as anyone can tell right now, is going to cover the events of the game I'm playing, the first one. Playing the remake of the first one, but you know what I mean. It's covering the events of the first game, which makes sense, good place to start. Well, unless they really wanted to adapt Zero, which I feel like would be even more exciting, but hey. I feel like Zero might be a bit too complicated to get into at this point. But no, I tried to be cautiously optimistic about Fallout, and all my expectations were exceeded. I'm trying not to get too hyped about this, but I really hope it's good, because I really fucking love these games, even though I've only really played 2 of them. So yeah, in October we're going to be getting a Yakuza adaptation. It's not the first Yakuza adaptation though, because there was a live action movie that came out in like the late 2000s, I think. Late 2000s, I believe, because I'm pretty sure the game came out in like 2005 or something. Anyway, but yeah. Also, there's a stage play, believe it or not. Look that up. It's a hell of a thing. But God, I can't remember the name of the guy, the director who did the Yakuza movie. I have a computer in front of me. I can look it up right now. Let's look it up right now. I am speaking to you through my computer, so you would think that I can look it up using my computer. Yes, it was actually called Like a Dragon, much like yeah, it came out in 2007. And it was directed by a guy called Takashi Miike. And it was I've watched most of it, and I think the Amazon show is not going to delve too much into the silliness of the series. Maybe to their detriment, that remains to be seen. But this movie really did, to the point where during the final battle at the end of the movie, Kiryu actually breaks out a bottle of the Stamina Royale stuff after he gets the shit kicked out of him. He downs it, and then he just gets covered in this blue aura, I believe. So it really does kind of go full bore with the ridiculousness of it. But this guy, Takashi, he did that. He also did Ichi the Killer, which is probably one of his most well-known movies, which is something alright. If you've never watched it, I suggest you do. I don't know how I feel about it, but the fact that it's stuck in my head probably means I enjoyed it, but it's hard to say. Another thing he did is he also did... God, is he the same guy who did... I need to look it up. Yes, he did a live-action adaptation of the Ace Attorney series. Yes, the point-and-click trial investigation thing on the DS. And that is as ridiculous as you would think it would be. There's a guy in a mascot costume who is revealed to be just an empty costume by the end of the movie, because I think he's implied to be the spirit of justice. They bring out a parrot as a witness for a murder, much like as happens in the first Ace Attorney game. They give Phoenix his weird gravity-defying hairstyle in the movie. They did not try to doll that up. So anyway, the point is, this guy really went full bore in trying to make it as accurate to the games as he did for both Yakuza and Ace Attorney. And it's wild. It's a wild thing to see. So yeah. Well, I've been ranting for roughly half an hour, so I think that's a good place to stop. I believe the general consensus, if we want to have like a synopsis? Yeah, there we go. A synopsis. A synopsis of what I've just been rambling about. Furiosa good. Mad Max series good. Corporate fuckery and studio shutting down bad. Yakuza series exciting. Exciting to see that. There we go. That if you wanted the bare bones minimum, the elevator pitch of what the hell I was just talking about, I guess that's it. I'm tired. I'm so super tired, but I also just really want to play video games. So that's what we're going to do. I am going to actually set this up so I can do the thing being play Yakuza.